Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I am your host, JB, the Fantasy Phenom. With me tonight, Steve Wynn, the Professor. Tonight we're going to be going over a little bit of draft strategy, get everybody ready for this weekend. And Steve, I'd like to welcome you to the show, Professor. And what was your take overall this weekend in Atlantic City at the Fantasy Football Fest?
Well, this year was the theoretical first ever Fantasy Football Fest in Atlantic City. Big, huge convention coordinated by the folks at ReedPop, and we were out there representing for ESPN, where we do our Sunday morning show, representing for the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football family, and we met a lot of great folks. We did a lot of fun networking. I discovered a couple pretty cool games that are being offered out there as to enhance your fantasy football fun every fall. And hey, let's just be completely honest. We were across from the beer garden and 2 slots down from the Lingerie Football Network. So it certainly was a fun time to be had.
Well, they were definitely the highlights of my weekend. As great of a time as we had and the networking that we accomplished, I agree. I really think, it was a successful weekend. Turnout was a little bit weaker. I was a little upset there. I would have liked to see more of us, fantasy fanatics out there to come out and to support what we were, trying to grow in a growing industry. But overall, you're right. I had a blast. But I'd have to agree with you, man. There was plenty of sights to be seen, and our location was the utmost excellent spot. I'd have to agree. Anybody who in our listening audience who was lucky enough to come out and see us that weekend, I'm sure they had a good time.
Yeah, we broadcast our Sunday morning show live. We had a big crowd around our booth as we did a special double length 2-hour show. So we made some good friends. We learned some good things, and it's behind us. You know what this weekend is, JB? Coming up?
It's our draft.
Well, it's not just our draft. This weekend, the weekend before Labor Day, every year is the most popular weekend for teams or leagues rather, to do their fantasy football drafts. So a lot of people out there getting ready, and we are here, JB and I, to we're going to do you a service. We are going to go through round by round ADP, our sleepers, our values, and we're gonna make it so you can win this weekend.
Well, that's what we're here for, right? Isn't that our slogan, so to speak? We're doing the work so you don't have to. And, we're trying to make it, exactly, we're trying to make it, fun. This is the highlight. You're right. Like, I love doing our draft. I don't know about you, Professor. I've been in one league for probably close to 10 years. And still to this day, we all get together every year when we do our draft. We've got guys that have moved out as far as Wisconsin who come to this draft. We got a guy flying in from Florida tomorrow night to come be at this draft. And you know what I mean? Your whole season. The draft is your season. That's where it all begins. That's where the fun starts, and it's awesome. And it's great when you have a group of guys.
I agree. People are going to, 20, 30 years out, you're going to look back and you'll have your 5-year college reunion. You get together with some folks, and your fantasy football draft will be number 2 on that list of catching up with old buddies once a year. So, good stuff. So, well, I tell you what, I've got a nice list in front of me of players that I'm ready to tear apart. What do you think? You ready to dive into this thing? Talk about the first round?
Sure, let's start. Okay, so you're one of those lucky guys out there. You rolled the dice, computer generated, whatever your system may be, and you're one of those guys, and you've got a top 4 pick. Who are we looking at here? I think this is pretty obvious, but we got to start somewhere. Let's start at the top.
Well, you know what the consensus is, and this is the consensus across the land of ADP, that it's all these leagues out on MFL and all the different places, they report who's getting drafted first. Arian Foster is the hands down number one overall pick, and he is joined in the top 4 by Ray Rice and LaShawn McCoy at running back. Fourth guy in this list of the top 4, according to ADP, is Aaron Rodgers. So if you got a top 4 pick, and say you're at number 4, odds are, if you're an old school drafter, you're looking at LaShawn McCoy. If you are buying into the new, up-tempo, no-huddle offense that the NFL is creeping towards, you might look at Aaron Rodgers. But those 4 guys and Calvin Johnson are the guys getting picked in the first 4 picks, and really nobody else is penetrating the top 4. What do you think, JB? Anybody worth penetrating that top 4 besides Calvin Johnson outside in that first round?
I don't think. No, other than the aforementioned running backs, and of course, maybe a quarterback here and there, depending on the thing. But I really don't think so. I think you're talking about those top 3 running backs on everybody's list, and maybe Calvin Johnson.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm in a draft, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, and I took Ray Rice first in this draft last year. I drew the first pick again this year. I am taking Calvin Johnson. Even though ADP-wise he is not the number 1 guy, there is a muddle at wide receiver, and we'll get into that when we get down to the 3rd and 4th round. What do you think? Out of my mind?
Well, I know how you like to break down and you look at players by position and who's giving you the most bang for the buck. So I definitely understand your theory there. But are you talking the number 1 first overall pick? You're taking Calvin Johnson?
Number 1 first overall pick. I am taking Calvin Johnson.
Well, I think that's pretty bold, Professor. I definitely have to give you your points there. You're a pretty smart guy, but I think
my reasoning is this. I'll tell you, if I was not picking in the top 5, I'd go running back, and we'll get into that later. But there is one wide receiver. There's one player in all of fantasy football who has his own tier at his positions. And we talked last week. I draft by tiers. Calvin Johnson is all alone in his tier, and then the next 5 wide receivers are a good bit behind him in the wide receiver ranks. So if you want a guy who is going to outgun everybody at a position, Aaron Rodgers is the sole lone gun at his position. Okay. There really is a muddle the rest of the way down.
Okay. So you're gonna go out and you're going to wow the fantasy world, and you're starting off with a wide receiver.
I am starting off number 1 with a wide receiver in a pretty big money draft. This isn't some mock draft that I'm playing in. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
Is this something that you're looking at as you think is going to work well for you, and this is what you've devised in your draft strategy, or is this something that you're recommending to our, tens and tens of listeners out there every week?
We hit thousands on the Blog Talk shows.
I know.
We do. I am recommending Calvin Johnson. You can think about it. I will tell you, Arian Foster is hard to pass up at that number 1 spot. But with his injury history, it's hard to get 100% on board with him. Ray Rice and LaShawn McCoy. Ray Rice is probably the safest guy of these 4 guys that we talked about. LaShawn McCoy is second to Ray Rice. Aaron Rodgers had a crazy year last year, and really they returned everybody plus Cedric Benson in Green Bay. So he's a great pick. But when you look at the rest of the positions and each position, and we'll talk about another position where you can take advantage back down at 12 and 13. But at this point, the only position where you can shut down the rest of your league is wide receivers. So Calvin Johnson has a little extra value in that way. Okay.
And what if you're in those group of guys, say picking, 5th through 8th, who are we looking at here? I mean, in most drafts, I would guess that Calvin Johnson then falls into this category outside of your draft. But who are we looking at in those 5 through 8 picks?
Yeah, in that 5th pick, if you're sitting at 5, you're getting, depending on the idiosyncrasies of your league, you're going to get LaShawn McCoy, Calvin Johnson, or Aaron Rodgers at number 5. That is really not bad. And 5, I've had a few people ask me what's the best place to pick in the first round, and I've been telling them all either 4 or 5, depending on whether you buy into Calvin Johnson or not. But there are 5 guys. Those guys are all slam dunks. So whichever one comes to you at 5. Now, after 5, this is where the first round starts to suck. To be completely honest, because this middle and back end of the first round is filled with difficult choices. Do you go Drew Brees and Tom Brady, 2 guys that are by ADP are getting drafted in the middle of the first round, or do you shoot for the stars and go for Chris Johnson? CJ2K was a big 0 last year, but he has bounced back. He's got a great offensive line. Darren McFadden, another guy who's an injury risk, but I think he could be the number 1 running back if he played a full year healthy. And,
I was going to say, when healthy, he is a beast.
So you really have a lot of dice rolls in the middle and back end of this round, and
and what if you fall where I fall in the first round? I in my biggest league that I've been in for years, the one I was speaking about, I landed the 11th overall pick. So if you're stuck with me at the tail end of that first round,
well,
again, are we talking about rolling the dice already, or is there still some solid picks here?
The back end of the first round actually starts to get a little bit better because you can't. It's hard to say no to Chris Johnson. The guy was phenomenal 2 years ago, had a contract holdout. It's not like it was, anything, like an ACL that it hobbled you for a couple of years. And he came on at the end of the season. So it's really hard to say no to Chris Johnson in the middle.
So you really think his first few games he was literally just shaking off the rust?
Yes. I think it was his first 10 games he was shaking off the rust. It was a long rehabilitation.
Sure.
But back into the first round by ADP, we've already covered Calvin Johnson and Chris Johnson. We talked about Brady and Brees. We talked a little bit about McFadden. The other 3 guys that are drafted in the first round as far as the rest of the world, what do they call it, the wisdom of crowds, Maurice Jones-Drew, Matt Forte, and Larry Fitzgerald. And I got to tell you, the only guy I like of those 3 is Matt Forte. You couldn't pay me to take Maurice Jones-Drew or Larry Fitzgerald in the first round this year.
Well, Maurice Jones-Drew, with the same reasons that we had last year with Chris Johnson. He's still on the holdout. He hasn't been up to speed. Missed most of the training camp. Probably going to wind up missing all of it, and the preseason games, excuse me. Training camp's gone. But, with the preseason, he's already missed the first 2 games. And I'd have to agree with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, you don't know who's going to throw him the ball, but whether if it's Kolb or Skull, I mean, he really doesn't have a good arm out there getting the ball to him anyway. I mean, the guy can make some magic. He can, do all those things we like to watch him do, but still, it's not going to be pretty.
So, JB, you're at that 11th spot.
Yep.
Matt Forte got taken at 10. So you've got Maurice Jones-Drew and Larry Fitzgerald staring you in the face. Here's what I'm going to tell you to do.
Well, if those are my options, if they're my options, I'm taking Steven Jackson.
There you go. You know what? That's why I love doing the show with you. Yeah. Steven Jackson, DeMarco Murray, and Jimmy Graham are the guys that I was going to tell you. Even though they're ADP, so second round, that you can feel good about taking them in the first. And Steven Jackson, you know what? He has got a good O-line.
Sure.
He's got a run-oriented coach. Jeff Fisher has produced some extraordinary fantasy football running backs in his career. I think Steven Jackson is poised for a huge 2012. So I am glad that that's the guy that you're going to fall back to in that 11th spot.
Well,
so we
can go on and on about we could go on and on about the first round, but I mean, there's still a lot of players out there, and there's a lot of more rounds left on a lot of these drafts. So why don't we take this time? Let's take a little break. We'll take a word from our sponsors, and we'll come back, and we'll pick up right where we left off at the second round.
Sounds good.
All right. See you on the other side, my friend.
This fantasy football season, be sure to check out Power Play Fantasy Sports, featuring free and pay-to-play fantasy football games with huge cash prizes. Power Play Fantasy Sports is your home for the 2012 fantasy football season. Visit the website PowerPlayFantasySports.com and use the promo code KICK to receive 20% off your entry in the Power Player Fantasy Football League, featuring a $5,000 grand prize. Again, that's promo code KICK. If you know football, this is the game for you. Visit PowerPlayFantasySports.com to
Listen up, fantasy football owners. If you want top quality, guaranteed authentic sports memorabilia, there's only one place to go. Prestige Sports Marketing. They offer autographed baseball and football jerseys, framed jerseys, helmets, bats, photos, and amazing artwork. They're 100% guaranteed authentic, so you can feel 100% confident. Check out Prestige Sports Marketing at PrestigeSportsMKTV.com. That's PrestigeSportsMKTV.com. And a promo code ESPN and get 10% off. Listen up, fantasy football owners. If you want top quality, guaranteed authentic sports memorabilia, there's only one place to go. Prestige Sports Marketing. They offer autographed baseball and football jerseys, framed jerseys, helmets, bats, photos, and amazing artwork. They're 100% guaranteed authentic, so you can feel 100% confident. Check out Prestige Sports Marketing at PrestigeSportsMKTG.com. That's PrestigeSportsMKTG.com. And our promo code ESPN to get 10% off. Hey, fantasy fans, how often does one or two injuries ruin your chances of winning your fantasy league? If you're anything like me, too often. What if I told you that I found a fantasy game that could help you avoid that? You can win cash prizes daily. FantasyPlayerExchange.com is a new fantasy game that allows you to make a team every single day. You can choose from players in multiple sports. Every day you have a chance to win. Unlike traditional fantasy games, FantasyPlayerExchange.com allows you to make your own team every day. Sign up today and enter to win a free trip to Las Vegas. FantasyPlayerExchange.com. Invest in your daily fantasy.
And we are back at the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Program draft special, if you will. So Professor, we chugged along through the first round, but I think this is where it kind of gets exciting. You know what I mean? Those first people are off the board. A lot of them were expected to go. I don't think you see any surprises really in the first round. I don't think any, unless somebody goes something crazy and grabs a rookie. But, the first round is pretty smooth. But the second round, I think it kind of gets a little interesting.
Well, there are a couple, the wisdom of crowds, the masses, the average out there in the world, both still liking Maurice Jones-Drew and Larry Fitzgerald a little more than they should. But we'll let that go. We're into the second round. They've gone in the first round to your to whoever is in your league that's still using a magazine that was printed in June as their cheat sheet. So you've got an advantage because you're listening to JB and the Professor, and we are at the top of the second round. Now, one of the three guys that I recommended to JB, if he's at that 11th spot and Forte is gone and the top other 9 guys are gone, Jimmy Graham, his ADP is 13. I think he can go in the first round in a PPR league. He definitely is worthy of going where he's going in the second round at 2-1. And the other guys at the top of the second round, another tight end, Rob Gronkowski, quarterback Matthew Stafford, quarterback number 4, off the board, and DeMarco Murray would be the fourth guy, the top of the third round. Taking into account that we have a couple duds that we hope are gone by the time we pick here. And JB, you've got the 14th pick. What are you doing at 14?
Well, to be honest with you, I was really thinking if I don't go quarterback there,
Right.
Depending on how my draft is going, and what the other guys have taken and who's available to me. Believe it or not, if I go running the old traditional running back route, I'm kind of thinking Jamal Charles there as well. I'm thinking taking Steven Jackson, the 11th pick, come back with the 14th pick and grabbing Charles. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
There's a reason that last week I decided we'd do the show together because Jamal Charles is the 20th overall by ADP, but I have him as number 14.
Hey,
so,
great minds.
So great minds think alike, and I can tell you, you could do worse than Jackson and Charles as your 1-2 punch. I would say take a look at grabbing Peyton Hillis in a later round to protect your Jamal Charles pick. But
sure.
That team is going to run the ball a lot. I think that's a great pick at 14. And, Charles is a middle second-round guy as far as his ADP goes. I think that is not a reach at all. And if that's the guy you want, if you've got a guy that you want and you're picking him just a couple picks higher than his ADP, you got nothing to be ashamed of because he ain't going to be there by the time your next pick comes around.
Sure, and just because it's the average draft position, it's not like it's really a reach. You're going within the same round, and, it's not my fault I have the second overall pick in that round. So,
right.
The guys that are out there, and I'm trying to fill roster spots, as far as the running backs, after the top three are gone, like you said, the rest of them at that point, there's a bigger selection of wide receivers that kind of get bunched up there in that second to third tier, but there's a pretty good array of running backs also in that second to third tier, and they're the guys that, we all have our preferences. Some like chocolate, some like vanilla. I like Jamal Charles.
There you go. Oh, that'd be Rocky Road, I think. So, so those four guys, you got the two tight ends. As listeners to the Sunday program know, and we even got into it a little bit last week, if you're picking 12th in the first round, I've been suggesting Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski as your 1-2 pick if you have a flex position that allows you to play a tight end there. At the expert draft, the fancy schmancy guys at the Fantasy Football Fest, Jimmy Graham went number 7 overall. So the cat is out of the bag. You will see a tight end go in the first round or early second this year, 2012. So if you follow that philosophy, really this is probably the last chance you have to get Jimmy Graham is the first part of the second round. So grab him there. Rob Gronkowski is going at the latest in the middle part of the second round. So both of these guys are off the board. DeMarco Murray. Let's talk about DeMarco Murray for a second. First part of the second round, he has been a guy that has been up and down my draft board. Love his talent, hate his offensive line, but now with Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, and Jason Witten all dinged up, I think they lean more on DeMarco Murray in the run game. So Murray has moved back up my draft board.
They're totally banged up at wide receiver, and that's something actually I wanted to talk about because I think a couple of the guys you just mentioned, people were looking to probably grab in the second and maybe third round, and now depending on their health issues, those Dallas wide receivers are automatic, they're almost taboo at this point. So, I think they're going to be tumbling down the draft board.
Yeah, I have dropped Dez Bryant to the very end of the fourth round, and he was a guy who has breakout potential if he's healthy. So he's got a serious enough injury. Jason Witten was always going to be a middle of the pack tight end, but luckily he doesn't need surgery with his injury. And Miles Austin, I don't even know what to make of Miles Austin at this point, and he's a guy that I'm hoping somebody else picks him before I even have the chance to have to worry about it. But I think DeMarco Murray has earned his way back into the top part of the second round. So I like him there. I like him at the I think it is the 16th overall pick. We've gotten out of the first part of the second round. Next part of the second round by ADP, at least. Well, it's the poo-poo platter. Cam Newton, Adrian Peterson, Andre Johnson, and Jamal Charles. And Jamal Charles is really the only one of those three guys that I like a lot. So Cam Newton, what do you think of Cam Newton for 2012, JB?
Well, Cam Newton, who knows? In the offense that he's running right now and with the uncertainty surrounding the offense that he's running right now, a lot may fall on his shoulders. We know he's got a gun of an arm. We know that he can run with his feet. Other than that, right now he's the best player on his team. Now, with that being said, Is it enough to carry that team? Are you going to get the production you're going to get out of them last year? Or are you going to get more of that production because they're going to be leaning on him in the early part of the year? To me, it's a fuzzy guy. I mean, if in the right situation, if he was there at, say, the end of the third round or the beginning of the fourth round where I'm picking, if he was there, I think I would jump all over him. I know that the average draft position says, to take him in that middle second round. I don't think I could pull the trigger personally right there. I still think there's other options out there.
I am right there with you. I have him 37th overall, which is end of the third round, beginning of the fourth. So we are, once again, pretty darn close on a guy that is overvalued. You have to remember, folks, if you're playing quarterback in a fantasy league, the fifth overall quarterback, and I think Cam Newton is, by acclamation, the fifth guy, is one better than the median, the average quarterback for fantasy purposes. If you don't have one of those outstanding guys, Cam Newton, for all of his amazing on-field talent, is just a middle-of-the-road starting quarterback for fantasy purposes.
Now, the only way that may change my mind would be if I was in a league where you got 4 passing points for a quarterback touchdown, but they still allow the 6 when they rush the ball in. I don't know if we're going to see him rush the ball for 15 touchdowns this year, but even if he rushes for 10 of them, that's giving you a huge advantage over the rest of your league. So that's kind of skewed. I guess I'm being a little biased going by a lot of the league rules that I play in that allow 6 points for quarterbacks. A lot of people out there play, a 4-point system for a passing touchdown. In that scenario, in the middle of the second round, he may be a really solid pick.
Yes, you are absolutely right. He does have more value in leagues that discount the passing touchdowns. And RG3 is certainly the other guy that falls into that category too. The other questionable pick of these 4, Adrian Peterson. I can't believe people are looking at Adrian Peterson in the middle of the second round, given his injury status.
Yeah, that's another one I couldn't pull the trigger on. I'm going to be happy when I see him go off the draft board because I'm going to feel like the only way you're going to get that man in this year's draft is to reach for him. And reaching for an injured running back is not something I'm really comfortable doing.
Yeah, I've got him as the 18th overall running back. ADP has got him as the 7th. So me and the masses, me and the crowds, we're way off. Bottom of the second round, just to blow through it, Marshawn Lynch, he's solid, but that's a boring pick. Julio Jones is, he's a difference maker, a wide receiver. But, like I said, after Calvin Johnson, I'm not looking at too many receivers. And finally, Steven Jackson, who we were just discussing, taken in the first round at pick 11. His ADP is 24. And if you get him at 24, you definitely take Steven Jackson at the end of the second round as your second player. You've got a stud.
If he's there, you absolutely have to take him there. And, I forget how young the guy is. For me, it just seems like I've been watching him forever. I think he's only in his 7th year, maybe his 8th year. But, to me, he just seems like I feel like I've drafted him every year for the past decade. But that's a good thing. Because he's been worthy of that pick, and if he's a guy that if he falls into the situation where I want to take him, I take him. This year, I agree, I may be in most people's mind reaching for him a little bit, but like I said, when I look at those second and third tier running backs, to me, he's a guy I really like.
Well, we've reached the end of round 2, and let me tell you, there's something very interesting that has happened in the world of fantasy football. After 2 rounds, only 12 running backs are off the board as far as ADP goes. Out of 24 players, in the past you would see 18 or 19 running backs taken by the end of the second round. Only 12 this year. You think that's attributable to the great passing year that was had last year? You think we're at the start of a trend, or was 2011
I would think so.
a blip?
I think a lot of people have put more value on the wide receiver and the quarterback, but I think there are things that we can talk about when we hit into the third round. And after another commercial break and a word from our sponsors who make this show all that possible, and we appreciate all their support. So when we get back, we can touch on those subjects, Professor. And again, I will see you when we get back.
Okay.
Are you good at fantasy football? Are you used to winning your fantasy league? Now put your fantasy skills into the ultimate test by playing against the rest of the world with Fantasy Football Evolution. Draft your team and then manage it through a 10-week regular season, a 1-week elimination round, and finally, if you're good enough, a 64-team tournament that will determine the first ever Fantasy Football Evolution champion. The winner of Fantasy Football Evolution receives $25,000, cash prizes paid to the top 16 players. Visit www.nextgenffe.com for more details. The only way to know if you're the best is to play.
Are you good at fantasy football? Are you used to winning your fantasy league? Well, now put your fantasy skills and savvy to the ultimate test by playing against the rest of the world with Fantasy Football Evolution. Fantasy Football Evolution is the first ever worldwide fantasy football competition. The winner gets $25,000. Go to nextgenffe.com to sign up today. The only way to know if you're the best is to play against the best. Fantasy Football Evolution at nextgenffe.com.
Don't let your fantasy issues become a reality. Fantasy Judgment is the premier dispute resolution service for all fantasy sports leagues. Led by attorney Michael Stein, the Supreme Court of Fantasy Judgment will resolve any and all issues or conflicts that arise in fantasy leagues. This includes disputed trades, collusion, abuse of power by league commissioners, lineup and roster errors, draft issues, score discrepancies, and interpretation of league rules. We alleviate the burden for league commissioners and allow everyone to focus on winning their leagues rather than arguing over disputes. Visit www.fantasyjudgment.com.
Hey fantasy fans, how often does 1 or 2 injuries ruin your chances of winning your fantasy league? If you're anything like me, too often. What if I told you that I found a fantasy game that could help you avoid that? You can win cash prizes daily. FantasyPlayerExchange.com is a new fantasy game that allows you to make a team every single day. You can choose from players in multiple sports. Every day you have a chance to win. Unlike traditional fantasy games, FantasyPlayerExchange.com allows you to make your own team every day. Sign up today and enter to win a free trip to Las Vegas. FantasyPlayerExchange.com. Invest in your daily fantasy.
Hey, and we are back to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. JB, the Fantasy Phenom, along with the Professor. And we've gone through the first 2 rounds. We spent a little bit of time discussing a lot of the players there. We're going to try to get us deeper into the draft. We're going to step it up a little bit and try to get through the 3rd and 4th round this segment. So, Professor, the 2nd round's over. The 3rd round's beginning. You've got one of those first 4 picks in this round. Who are you looking at?
Well, I like Wes Welker and A.J. Green if you're looking wide receiver at the top of the round, and I like Ryan Matthews and Trent Richardson if you're looking running back. Matthews, yes, he's got some injury risk, but those wide receivers, both of them are fantastic. A.J. Green is a great play at the top of the 3rd round. There's a little bit of a risk of a sophomore slump with him, but Wes Welker, you really can't argue with. The only problem he has is Brandon Lloyd is in town, and I do like Brandon Lloyd quite a bit. So a pair of wide receivers there from ADP, a pair of running backs, and you know what? It's the first set of 4 that's actually appropriately valued by their ADP. So I like all 4 of those picks. I like them in the top half of the 3rd round, even late 2nd round. You can make an argument for Trent Richardson. You know, rookies are a risk, but there's nothing else for the Brownies to do but run the ball. So Trent Richardson's got a bright year in front of him.
Sure, and as we've all seen, I mean, running backs in their first 3 or 4 years, that's when they really shine anyway. So if he's going to make an impact, a la, DeMarco Murray last year, you're right, he could make an instant impact. What about the guys that are stuck drafting in the middle of this round?
Well, this is a tough spot. I really don't believe in drafting wide receivers in the middle of the 3rd round here. I think there's too much value. I think wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 26 are too close in value for you to spend an early round pick on them. So I might reach for a running back here, and the running back I'm reaching for in this set is Fred Jackson. But you know what? If you're a conservative guy, you've taken 2 running backs or maybe even a running back and a quarterback. Brandon Marshall, Roddy White, Victor Cruz are the 3 guys that are getting drafted in this neck of the woods. None of them are a reach at this stage of the game. Brandon Marshall, frankly, I love the Chicago offense this year. So I could see both Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler outperforming their ADP.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember it was, a year or two ago when somebody made the comment about Chicago Bears being the place where wide receivers went to die. So maybe that stigma can be removed and, maybe they can prove the world wrong.
It is cold up there, yes. Bottom half of the round is more wide receivers and tight ends. You know what? This is an odd round. There's not a single quarterback or wide receivers and running backs. There's no quarterbacks or tight ends as far as ADP is concerned in the third round. They finish out the round. Jordy Nelson, who I think is a reach in the third round. I don't like that pick. Hakeem Nicks, just back from injury, and Victor Cruz is pretty good. I don't like that pick. Darren Sproles is the running back, and Michael Turner, another guy. I like Jacquizz Rodgers a lot more than I like Michael Turner this year in Atlanta. So, this is another round where I'm looking at guys that are getting drafted in later rounds, like Frank Gore and Ahmad Bradshaw, and I'm pulling them into the third round before I'm taking any of those four guys.
So you'd rather sit back, let them go off the board, and you're not going to be bullied into feeling you have to take one. You'll let somebody else take one, and if you have to reach, you're comfortable reaching in the third round.
Yeah, you know what? Jordy Nelson has the opportunity to do extremely well, but I think that offense is too balanced. I'd rather have a guy. If I haven't taken two running backs already, I am jumping all over Ahmad Bradshaw or Doug Martin, guys who have ADPs in the next round, and getting the value here. So, just my personal opinion, but I don't love any of those guys, I'll be honest.
Okay, so now we've completed the third round. You're coming into the fourth round, and if you're like me, you're going to have one of the top, couple of picks in this round. So what do we got coming in the beginning of the fourth round?
Well, a guy that I just talked about, Ahmad Bradshaw, his ADP is 38. Second pick in this round. That's where you'd be picking with the 11th slot overall. And if you get Ahmad Bradshaw with the 38th pick in your draft, I hope that you buy me a beer with your winnings in your fantasy football league, because Ahmad Bradshaw is a great play in the fourth round. You are very happy to get him. No more Brandon Jacobs up in New York. The rookie has some promise, Thomas, but I like Ahmad Bradshaw a lot. The other guys in this round, I like Frank Gore a lot. I really like Frank Gore far more than his ADP here. He's a great pick. Steve Smith in Carolina doesn't excite me a lot. I really do think Carolina regresses after the great year last year. And the last guy in this first part of the fourth round, it'd be hard for me to turn away from him, but Michael Vick is the last guy. He is our median quarterback. When he plays, he is fantastic, but we've already seen him go out with injury in the preseason. It just hurts me to not take Michael Vick here, but I would avoid him.
Well, if somebody was to walk up to me and guarantee that I was getting 16 games out of the man, I might take him in the second or third round.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, I just think I have a lot of, like you said, when he's on the field, he's dynamic, he makes things happen, he's fast, he scores lots of fantasy points, he scores lots of real football points. The guy's amazing. The problem is he's built like the average. He's built like me. He's 6 foot, maybe 195 pounds, and he's getting hit by linebackers too often. So, I just can't count on his health, and I think I have to avoid him where he's, slotted to be picked.
That play that took him out in the Patriots game, he invited it, and you can't be throwing yourself into a potential injury situation in a preseason game, and he threw himself into it. So you have to think that his mindset is still at a point where he throws himself into plays. And, as much as I like the old commercial, Michael Vick, The Ride, a few years ago, you remember that commercial? There was no passing in that commercial. So
Is that play in the playbook? No, but it should be. Yeah.
So that's not a ride that I want to get on. Speaking of rides that I don't want to get on, the middle part of this round, as far as ADP concerns, is a minefield. Des Bryant, Mike Wallace, Marquez Colston. Injured, holding out, and my coach was suspended. Are these guys, notes on my board. So those three guys. The fourth guy in this group is Antonio Gates, number 3 overall tight end. You know what? In the 4th round, Antonio Gates is not a bad play at all. But those other three guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I actually think Antonio Gates, he could be right up there and rival those other two tight ends. I like the system he's in. I like everything he's got going for him this year. You really hate to call it a comeback because I don't think the guy's ever truly left. But, I could really see him putting up, maybe numbers like he was putting up, 4 years ago. I could expect to see that easily out of him this year.
I agree, and they've got some dinged-up offensive weapons. He, by default, has become Phillip Rivers' only, if not number one only target. So I think Antonio Gates is really the guy that if he's there for you in the middle of the 4th round, you take him. If those other 3 wide receivers are there, you hope something fell to you. If not, a little further down the 4th round, here's a guy who I love as a reach. Love it. Doug Martin, running back for Tampa Bay. My first rookie on my draft list, and it's aside from Trent Richardson, who is the show in Cleveland. Doug Martin could be a top 10 guy fantasy-wise. LeGarrette Blount isn't showing anything. So if you've got those three wide receivers, you already find a wide receiver, you need a running back, reach a little bit, take Doug Martin here, and go home happy. So the other guys at the bottom of this round, not a lot to say about too many of them. Eli Manning, number 6 quarterback in the 4th round. There's a pick that I won't be talking about at the water cooler on Monday. Percy Harvin, solid wide receiver. Demaryius Thomas, solid wide receiver with a lot of upside as Manning's number 1 target. Like them both, but Demaryius Thomas certainly the bigger upside pick there.
Yeah, Percy Harvin last year, he did a lot. If I knew he was going to duplicate what he did last year, he would be really hard to pass up there. I was surprised. I wound up grabbing him in a trade in a keeper league. So the trades are a little bit crazy. I don't really get into that right now. But he wound up on my team in the middle of one of my drafts last year, or one of my leagues last year. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't even really paying attention to him through the first 6 or 7 games. But when I saw what the man did for me for the last 8 games of the season, I got to tell you something. I really like Percy Harvin.
You know what? He was a great play because he was running the ball.
Yeah.
And that was just astounding. And I do remember the commission talking about him as a pickup in the middle part of the season after Adrian Peterson was gone. He was a very nice pickup. He's a versatile guy with a more creative and clever coaching staff in Minnesota this year. You have high hopes for him.
Why don't we break into the 5th round? We'll start with the top 3, and then we'll try to get through 5, 6, and 7 if we have time for after the break. But let's jump right into the 5th round now. And if you've got one of those first 4 picks, who are you taking?
Well, Reggie Bush is a guy. His ADP is 49, first pick in the 4th round. I got him overall in my own personal rankings for non-PPR, 30. This is a guy who is a versatile asset out of the backfield with a passing game that is extremely young. So watch him lean heavy on Reggie Bush in the run game in Miami. He is a guy that I think can make you some money in 2012. Rest of the guys at the top of this round, Miles Austin, he's getting picked at 50 by ADP. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole with the injury risk. Aaron Hernandez is tight end. Frankly, I think if you haven't gotten one of the top 3 guys, you wait and bide your time at tight end. And Matt Ryan. Okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about Matt Ryan after kind of breezing through those guys. Matt Ryan, overall quarterback number 7 by ADP, 7 or 8. On my list, 7 or 8. But you know what? If I don't get one of those top 2 guys, if I don't get Brady or Rodgers in a league, Matt Ryan is the guy that I'm taking, and I'm going to get him in every single league that I can get him in because I think Matt Ryan is one of the very few guys that's not in that top 5 or 6 that can break into the top 5 or 6 by the end of the season. They're going to go with a more passing-heavy offense. I think he is a huge, huge value at quarterback. And this round 5, is where the quarterback run starts, and Matt Ryan kicks it off. Middle part of this round, you've got Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Tony Romo, and Brandon Lloyd. So 3 out of 4 in the middle part of this round are quarterbacks, and not one of them is a guy that I will touch with a 10-foot pole in my drafts. Phillip Rivers has got his issues. Peyton Manning has got some upside, but I'm not going to gamble with my fantasy season. And Tony Romo has just got too many injuries among his position players. Sorry to step on you on that. What do you got there?
No problem. I agree. Matt Ryan, out of those guys, sort of middle of the pack type quarterbacks. You're right. He's got a healthy receiving core. He's got a awesome receiving core. With Julio Jones and Roddy White, he's got a solid tight end. He's got the running game that he can fall back on when things are. I mean, he's actually running an offense that is it's built for a quarterback and for a quarterback to shine. And you're right, as long as he grasps the reins and takes control, and I can really see him having a breakout season.
Well, I got a question for you. You're a Steelers fan. Here's a trivia question. Now that we've had our quarterback run, we've seen the last starting quarterback has fallen off the board in round 5 as far as ADP is concerned. Over the last 5 years, what quarterback has more wins than any other quarterback in the NFL? And this is, hey, you know what? We're at the break, so you get a full minute to think about that one. What do you?
Well, I know the answer, but I'll gladly talk about him when we come back.
Okay. I don't
All right. Here's a little word
glad.
from our sponsors. We'll be back, and we're going to try to take everybody right through up until round 7. See you on the other side.
Are you good at fantasy football? Are you used to winning your fantasy league? Now put your fantasy skills into the ultimate test by playing against the rest of the world with Fantasy Football Evolution. Draft your team and then manage it through a 10-week regular season, a 1-week elimination round, and finally, if you're good enough, a 64-team tournament that will determine the first ever Fantasy Football Evolution champion. The winner of Fantasy Football Evolution receives $25,000, cash prizes paid to the top 16 players. Visit www.nextgenffe.com for more details. The only way to know if you're the best is to play against the best.
Are you good at fantasy football? Are you used to winning your fantasy league? Well, now put your fantasy skills and savvy to the ultimate test by playing against the rest of the world with Fantasy Football Evolution. Fantasy Football Evolution is the first ever worldwide fantasy football competition. The winner gets $25,000. Go to nextgenffe.com to sign up today. The only way to know if you're the best is to play against the best. Fantasy Football Evolution at nextgenffe.com.
Don't let your fantasy issues become a reality. Fantasy Judgment is the premier dispute resolution service for all fantasy sports leagues. Led by attorney Michael Stein, the Supreme Court of Fantasy Judgment will resolve any and all issues or conflicts that arise in fantasy leagues. This includes disputed trades, collusion, abuse of power by league commissioners, lineup and roster errors, draft issues, score discrepancies, and interpretation of league rules. We alleviate the burden for league commissioners and allow everyone to focus on winning their leagues rather than arguing over disputes. Visit www.fantasyjudgment.com.
Hey fantasy fans, how often has 1 or 2 injuries ruined your chances of winning your fantasy league? If you're anything like me, too often. What if I told you that I found a fantasy game that could help you avoid that? You can win cash prizes daily. FantasyPlayerExchange.com is a new fantasy game that allows you to make a team every single day. You can choose from players in multiple sports. Every day you have a chance to win. Unlike traditional fantasy games, FantasyPlayerExchange.com allows you to make your own team every day. Sign up today and enter to win a free trip to Las Vegas. FantasyPlayerExchange.com. Invest in your daily fantasy.
Okay, and we are back at the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I am your host, JB, the Fantasy Phenom. With me is the Professor. Really quick, before we get into your trivia question, I do want to remind all of our listeners who do listen in the South Jersey area to please tune in and to listen to us on ESPN Radio 97.3 every Sunday morning. We are live from 9 to 10 on local radio. And okay, Professor, you had asked a question before the break, and I was pretty confident in knowing who the answer was. You said a quarterback who has the most wins through the past 5 years. That's the question?
That is the question. The guy, since he has started in the NFL, who has who has the most wins in the last 5 years. And you know what? In the break, I said I will give you 5 guesses, and we'll shorten that to 3 for the purposes of the radio show. Number 1.
I'm going to say my guy. I'm a Pittsburgh fan. I'm going to say Ben Roethlisberger. They always seem to have 10-plus wins every year. They're a perennial playoff team. I'm going with Big Ben.
It is not Ben Roethlisberger. He missed a significant amount of time with injury. Next.
Well, okay. Then I would have to say one of the perennial favorites, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady missed a whole season with injury. Yes, that team is a perennial winner, but it is not Tom Brady. One more try.
Then I'm going to go with a guy who's kind of been flying under the radar until last year, and he blew everybody's doors off, and I'm going to say it has to be Drew Brees.
Drew Brees spent that first year of the 5-year period with the San Diego Football Chargers, so that answer is also incorrect. For all you folks out there, probably fantasy irrelevant, except as a backup, and only a mid-quality backup at that, but has won more NFL games than anybody since he came in as a rookie. Joe Flacco of the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens? You're going to throw that at me?
Hey,
that's
you know
just
what?
horrible,
He may be winning it on the strength of the defense, but he's winning it regardless. Okay, we'll go back to the top of the 6th round. Actually, we were at the bottom of the 5th round.
We still have to hit the bottom of the 5th round.
Yes, so I tell you what, there are a couple guys. This is where I start getting excited about my draft. After a long stretch of guys that I'm saying ick to, but they'll perform. Now we're starting to talk about guys who I think are going to outperform their drafted position. First up, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. Nobody is talking about this guy, and you know what? I think the change of scenery does him a world of good. So the law firm moves to Cincinnati. And I think he's got a resurgence, something he didn't get in New England. Vincent Jackson, another guy with a change of address this year. He goes to Tampa Bay. I think he rejuvenates Josh Freeman's career, makes him a worthwhile fantasy backup. Willis McGahee, the third guy in this list. I think he might be the last option for a real starting running back for fantasy purposes. He is all the way down here at the end of round 5. And finally, at last, Jeremy Maclin. Now, if you believe the hype and that the Dream Team was just a year late to get to the train station, Jeremy Maclin and Deshaun Jackson's value is higher than I've got them and higher than ADP has got them. But the masses say that Jeremy Maclin is an end of round 5 guy. I kind of believe the hype, so you could have a gem there.
I really like Jeremy Maclin, and I really liked him last year. The one thing I can say, living here in South Jersey, I'm inundated with Eagles. It's on, we get every Eagles game, so I'm forced to watch a lot of Eagles games. With that being said, Jeremy Maclin, I think, is a phenomenal talent. I also have to say I watched him drop a few touchdown passes last year. That is a big no-no to me. I mean, if you're in the end zone, you're open, the ball hits you in the hands, you got to hold on to it. You got to hold on to it. So I'm a little browbeating on Maclin. Deshaun, on the other hand, I love Deshaun Jackson. I love his speed, and I like what he can bring to the table.
Yep. Yeah, well, Deshaun's in the middle of the next round. Both of those guys, I think, are better than their ADPs. So if they're dropping to you in 5 and 6, I think they are worthwhile to get. Top of the 6th round, tight ends make a reappearance after a bit of a dry spell. And Jermichael Finley, Vernon Davis, two guys who are outside of that elite category. I got to tell you, I love Vernon Davis this year. I like Jermichael Finley. If I don't get my hands on Graham Gronkowski or both of them, I'm not going to be real upset if I have to settle for Davis and Finley. I am going to be upset if I have to settle for anybody after him. You know why? Because all the tight ends after Finley, who is my number 6 overall, stink. So get a top 6 guy. If you don't get one, wait until the 13th and draft some rookie like Toby Fleener, because the rest of those guys are not worth wasting an early round single-digit draft pick on. The other two guys here, Sean Green, New York Jets. I hate him. Not a fan of where he is getting drafted here. Don't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Stevie Johnson, 24th overall wide receiver. Like him, he's got some upside. I think the Bills' offense is better than people are giving it credit for. So.
Yeah, I like Stevie Johnson. I had him in a couple of leagues last year. My only gripe with him was I believed he was the only receiving threat on the team. He faces a lot of double coverage. You know, the secret's out. It doesn't surprise anybody. The guy can run, the guy can catch. He can do all the things you want your wide receivers to do. And I think that other teams, they just smother him. That's my problem with Stevie Johnson.
Okay, well, middle of the round after those guys, Antonio Brown, the big beneficiary from Mike Wallace's holdout. Deshaun Jackson, we talked about him before, big value here. Jonathan Stewart, I hate the Carolina coin flip every year, but we're back again, and it looks like Stewart's winning that flip. He's a little higher ranked than D'Angelo Williams. I don't like guys in committees, so I'm not touching either of them. And finally, Isaac Redman, he is plummeting down my draft board with his injury, Mendenhall's early return. So, really, I like the receivers there. I don't like the running backs in the middle of this round. At this point, I'm hoping the guys that were maybe ranked a little higher are going to drift to me here. Robert Griffin's a guy that I might take in the middle of the 6th round and be happy with him if I haven't gotten a quarterback already.
Well, I have to chime in real fast on Isaac Redman. Not that I love the guy. I just like to me, he defines – hard-nosed Pittsburgh football, punch-in-the-mouth type of guy. I could see him getting some goal line touches regardless of, who's health, who's back, who's the main ball carrier. Early in the year, you may see a little more action out of him, but I could still see him as a goal line threat.
Absolutely, but it's hard to get excited about him as your running back number 2, and if you're in the 5th round, and thinking running back, it's probably because you've gone with wide receiver and quarterbacks to this point, and you can do better than Redmond at this point, and we'll get into some of those guys in the 7th round. The rest of the 6th round, Peyton Hillis, guys in a committee situation in Kansas City, can't endorse picking him before the 10th round, to be honest, so I think the ADP is way off there. Pierre Garçon, solid pick. Torrey Smith in Baltimore, love this pick. A lot of upside on him. And finally, the guy I mentioned for the middle of the round that I would stretch and take, Robert Griffin III. I've got him as my number 8 quarterback overall. I think he is one of the few guys in the bottom half of the quarterback ranks with the possibility to break into the top half. So with that said, you know what? We've got just a few minutes left. I do want to make it through the 7th round, and next week we'll come back with some of our sleepers and undervalued guys.
Well, that's something I was going to propose to you. I mean, it's up to you. We can either wrap up the show now, or we can pay another respect to our sponsors. We can run their ads, and if you want to come back and finish the show, if anybody's out there listening, we can make this a bonus draft special show, and we can run the show to 10:10 if you'd like.
You know what? Let's take it to next week. We're at 9:58. Okay. I realize that we're pushing the envelope there, and
sure.
Some of these guys are sleeper and undervalued picks anyway, so we can get into them next week.
Okay.
So the 6 rounds covered. Yeah.
Yeah, we've made it. We've made it through, the core of your draft. I mean, by the end of the 6th round, these are the guys that are really solidifying your team. By this point, you should have, most likely you have 2 running backs, you have 2 wide receivers. Some people may have their 3rd, running back by now. Hopefully you have a quarterback by now, and a lot of people have a tight end by now. So you've got your starting rotation that you're throwing out on the field every week by now. You've got your running backs, your wide receivers, your flex spot, and your quarterback. So, people should be feeling pretty good at this point in the draft, and now they can start wondering, where they're going to start to take their gambles.
I agree. I think, boy, that was a fun 60 minutes there. We plowed through 72 players. I feel good.
Yeah, no, so do I. I think I think it was a lot of fun. I appreciate all of our listeners for tuning in tonight. And I do want to thank all of our sponsors. A lot of them we got to actually meet in person this weekend, and that was a lot of fun too. And I'd like to thank some of the guys. They stopped by our booth. They've given us some gifts. We got the iwonmyleague.com. They came by and they gave us a trophy that we can hand out at to the winner of our league this year. And I really like to thank them. I thought that was really classy.
Yeah, that's going to look fantastic on my mantle. So.
You're dreaming. Cool. All right, well, once again, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Tonight was JB, the Fantasy Phenom, and the Professor, and we will be signing off, and thanks for joining in.
Turn out the light, the party's over.